So have you ever just pondered over a fretboard chart and thought, what the heck is this mess? Why have I chosen this instrument? And how the heck am I going to learn all of these notes? Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you something simple. And by the end of it, you should know all the notes on your fretboard, or at least be able to play all the notes up to the 5th fret and know what they are on all 4 of your strings, and just have an understanding of how to go further and what you're going to need to practice to get this all dialed in. As trust me, it's not as difficult as you may first assume. Let's get into it. So let's just start out with the open strings. This is just basic knowledge which you're going to need to know. Your first string, or your thickest string, the string that's closest to your face essentially, is your E string. Then you've got an A string, a D string and a G string. These are all just going up one string. You just need to know first is E, the second is A, the third is D, and the 4th is G. So if you want to play any E, A, D or G, you can use those open strings and it will get you the notes that you want as well. As always, make sure your bass is in tune too, otherwise you're not going to be getting the notes. You can always use a tuner app on your phone or get a personalized physical tuner to put on your bass. But once you know that, you're already on the first step to the right direction. The next thing is just basic shapes. If you take this F here, which is 1st fret on the E string, and that is a good one to know. F is 1st fret on the E string. We'll get into why that is in just a second, but you'll also find an F 2 strings and 2 frets higher. So this is 3rd fret of the D string. You'll find another F. It is an octave higher than your original F, but it is still an F, and that is all you need to know for the time being. You've got F there and F here, and this works for every single note on the fretboard. You've got B flat as your 1st fret on the A string, and you've got B flat as your 3rd fret on the D string, your G string. But sadly, this doesn't keep going on as you do run out of strings. But it's good for learning where all the notes are adjacent to the notes you have on other strings. If you're starting on the E or A strings, you can learn where your F, F sharp, G, etc. is. But I do want to talk about a basic way to get your first 5 frets learned on each string. And it starts with what I'm going to maybe steal from a certain channel and call money notes. But although these are just all the notes that are on the dots. You probably noticed your fretboard has little dots along it, and these dots are your 1st, 3rd, 5th and etc. But for the time being, those first 3 dots are what we're going to be looking at. And on the E string, your open is obviously E, which is no fretted note. Your 1st is F, then your 2nd dot is G, and your 3rd dot is A. And that is a great starting place. Now you know where E, F, G and A are. You've got already 4 notes down. And if you do have any basic music theory to go along with this as well, or just an understanding of how notes work, after F you've got an F sharp, then a G, then a G sharp and then an A. This doesn't work between B and C, E and F, but you can always add a sharp note. Notice I called this B flat. You can call it A sharp as well if that is helpful to you, as it is A, but it is 1 fret higher, so it is sharper, higher in pitch essentially. So F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. And this G sharp can also be A flat, and obviously this F sharp can be G flat. It works the other way as well. You can go from this B here, 2nd fret on the A string, and go down a fret and get B flat as well. And that is a good concept to know. If you learn what the first 3 dots and your open is, and then do that for all of your strings going all the way up. So I'll just give you a little synopsis of that. So we've got the E string already, then it's A, A sharp, C, D, then D, D sharp, although that is very commonly called E flat, same as that being B flat on the A string for that first note. F, and then G, and then G, and then G sharp, and then B flat again, or that A sharp, and then C. And you notice it's that C gap and that shape that we were talking earlier. 2 strings, 2 frets higher is going to get you that same note. But you notice there's repeating notes. When you go up to the 5th fret, you go up a string to the open and it's the same note again. And if you're on the 5th fret, the next string up, unless you get to your G and you don't have any more strings, is always going to be the same note as well. And it's always nice if you just have your bass in tune and fiddle around and find notes that are the same, and once you've got that shape in your mind, it is really going to help you learn through all of it. So if you're just your basic bog standard beginner, that's probably a lot of information for you, and I recommend just practice over that. Get your first 3 dots learnt, and then from that do it on each 4 strings that you've got. As a beginner, you should probably be playing a 4 string. I wouldn't recommend you start on a 5. So if you've got access to a 4 or you're using a 4 already, great, that is the way to go. If you are a beginner, and get the dots, the in-between dot notes as well as the open dot notes, and this applies in the same way because the open's sort of not a dotted note either, although they really are the first note that you should learn. So then once you've got that, you're already half of the way there. Once you've got your open strings and up to the 5th fret, you are half of the way, my friend, to learning all of the fretboard. So if you've got to that stage already, you're in luck, as you're already 50% of the way there. So if you've gone through that stage now, you are again 50% of the way there. And essentially, you just have to continue this up the rest of the fretboard, but probably start with your 7th and 9th frets, which, if you're thinking of it, you've got your 1st dot, 2nd dot, 3rd dot, it's your 4th and 5th dot, and going to your 7th and 9th frets are your way to go. Then you just need to learn 6, 7, 8 and 9 on there. And obviously if you're reading it on tab, that's going to make sense. But if you know what the notes are called as well, that is really, really useful for you, because then you can just be like, oh yeah, 6th fret on the G string, that is going to be D flat or C sharp. And you know that if you already string is that D flat C sharp. Again, you can move it, and if you just want to know all your notes on the 7th fret and you can get the 6th fret as well, you can use that shape and you realize, oh yeah, these are all the same notes. It won't work for your E and A strings as this shape doesn't work here, but you can always go up if you know your 9th fret stuff and work your way back down. Just again, that shape works amazingly for finding similar or the exact same. Figuring out what the notes are. If this is a C, we're going up one fret or one note, it's going to be sharpened, and then we're going to go again and it will become D. You won't get any sort of double sharp, double flat thing. Well, yes, you can call certain notes that, we would just go on to the next note. Again, this does not apply from B to C or E to F, which is your 2nd and 3rd frets on the A string and your 2nd and 3rd frets on the D string. And from there, use those shapes and use that same logic that I've applied to keep going up. And I'm just going to reiterate this. Use that shape 2 frets and 2 strings higher, and think of your note, and then think of it as sharpened, and then think of it as then the next note afterwards. Again, apart from the 2 that I said. And if you've got a flattened note, let's say E flat here, and we're going to make it sharper, we're not going to call it E sharp, we're just going to call it E. If you've got a flat and you're going up a fret, that flat can just be taken out of the note name. And if you're going up a fret and you still want to use that same note name, then you can call it that sharp. So you could call F E sharp, but it's usually regarded as F, really, isn't it? You don't really see it as E sharp, and you certainly wouldn't really be calling it E sharp. Same for B sharp, you just call that C. Essentially, continue that shape up to your 9th fret, which you'll find is an E on the G string, which is the same as 7th fret on the A string. Again, that shape is coming in handy. Now you will notice you have now an extra fret to get to this double dot, which is your 12th string. And once you know all of the notes on all of these strings, including your open, up to the 12th fret, that is your whole fingerboard learnt, as fret 13, exact same as have that, but use the dots as guidance. You don't need to think of it necessarily as fret 13. You can just think of it as fret 1. I find that does simplify things a lot. We've got an A flat here and we've got an A flat here. Same as if we've got the open G string. That is G again, but up the octave, and that is really nice. Again, think of this. So we've got E here, and then we're going up a fret. That is E sharp, but we're going to call it F, obviously, because it goes straight to it. But then it's F sharp, and we can call that F sharp, and then G. And you just do that on every string. Now let's do the same thing that you'd get on the D string. So we're going to start with a B here, then it's going to go up to a C because we can't call B sharp, and then it's going to be C sharp and then D. You will notice your 12th fret is again the exact same note as the open string. So if you're talking to yourself like this and doing what I'm doing here, if you find yourself when you hit the 12th fret saying D, if you're on the D string, then you're doing the right thing and you're getting the right notes. So now if we're on the A string here, obviously we've got E for your 7th fret, and then you're going to work it up, F sharp here. You can always work from down from what frets you know if you want to get your way up here as well. So F sharp here, then it's going to go straight to a G, G sharp, A, and this is the A string obviously. So you know, that logic works out here. Again, if we've got a B on the 7th fret, then we've got a C here, and a C sharp is your 9th fret on the E string. So straight to a D, then a D sharp, although again, that one is really, really commonly called E flat, but D sharp works for this case. And then an E there, and that is the same as your open string. Feel free to spend as much time as you want on this and get this exercise going through. Just to run it through a little bit, let's say we've got A here, and if we want to go up a fret, A sharp. Now if we're on this A sharp and we want to go down a fret, A not sharp. We just remove the sharp from it. And if we're going B here, B flat actually, if we want to go up another note, then we just remove the flat from the name and it's straight to B. You can't do that from B to C, E to F, because we're not going to call this C flat really, and then C, and we're not going to call this F flat and F, although it does come up in some music notation, but we don't need to get into that today. If you're learning the fretboard, learn this is B, C, E, F. Don't learn that any other way. If you keep that in your head and use these other rules to apply, again, a sharp note of the letter lower on the alphabet is the same as a flat note upper on the alphabet. So you know the alphabet goes A, B, C just to start. If we've got an A sharp, then we know that will be a B flat, because if we go up one alphabet letter, then we have to change that sharp to a flat on there. And that is a good way of thinking about those notes as well. So I hope from that you have got some guidance on how to learn the fretboard, and now you can do so without having to look at all of those charts. Again, it may seem like a lot of information to have in all one go, but trust me, just start with your first 3 frets and do every string. Then just every day do those extra notes and keep going, and in a matter of a week or so at most, really, if you take this through every day, you could even do all of it in one day if you're feeling particularly keen. Then you'll get yourself there, and then once it's in your head, it will definitely stay there. Don't worry if you put some time in. You literally just spend 10 minutes on this each day, each practice session, and you can get through it and you won't have any further troubles with it. So I hope this video has helped you. As always, like and subscribe and support the channel. We're on the road at the moment to 100 subscribers, so let's try and get there as soon as possible, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.